Hello and welcome to the Parker Files, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Hot Toys Captain Marvel Deluxe version, MMS 522. The packaging has a really nice combination of colors, with some effervescent style coloring in the blues and some more muted tones in the gold. The packaging on the front and side looks great to me, but the back of the inside box where we get the credits to the cast and crew is just a little off-brand. I would have preferred if it had more of a 90s vibe to it. For me, the box art is a detail that I really enjoy, and I always compare the box art to the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 series, which for me, at least in the MCU line, is the series that takes the cake. Alright, enough about the packaging. Let's open it up and see what's inside. Here we have Captain Marvel out of the box, and I have to say, first impressions of this figure, they're bittersweet. I mean, the figure is heavy, and I can tell that she's going to look great on the shelf and be a figure that catches the eye. The colors are vibrant and will really stand out amongst a lot of the darker clothed figures in my collection. The design of the suit is really well done. The layers of printing really give the suit some dimension, and there almost seems to be a sheen on the blue, which in certain light looks awesome. One area for concern, though, is the knee pads. Too much constant articulation, and I'd be worried about these staying on long term. That said, due to the material choice, which I'll talk about later, I'm not intending to have this displayed dynamically for any length of time. The boots have a really nice detail to them, and the red and the gold, I think they look great. I'm a little disappointed that even though they went with a split cut boot, which is normally my preference for posing because it gives you more options, even with this split cut, these boots don't really have a wide range of motion. Speaking of range of motion, due to the layers of printing on the upper body, there's no bend in the midsection whatsoever. This again would normally be frustrating, but due to the material choice, I won't really be bothered by this because I won't be posing her in a dynamic position. The likeness to Brie Larson is better in hand than a lot of the pictures that I saw floating around in the beginning. However, all of that is overshadowed by the material choice of this figure, which, as others have said, is indeed the same material from the Iron Spider figure, which will essentially reduce this figure, at least in my collection, to a museum pose. In terms of accessories, two of the most notable in the deluxe version are the leather flight jacket and Goose the Cat. The jacket is really well tailored, and to me, I think it fits quite nicely. The color of the jacket looks really good to me, and even though it's not made of real leather, it's still nice and soft. The patches look great, and I think this looks so good that even though I don't intend to leave it on this figure, I am thinking of getting another body and making a casual Carol Danvers figure. For many people, Goose the Cat stole the show in the Captain Marvel movie, but sadly, I don't think he's going to do the same for this figure. I love the idea of getting this in the set, but it just doesn't deliver. To me, the likeness to a cat just isn't there, and that's a big letdown for me. Now here we have Captain Marvel in a low-level dynamic flight pose. I really like a lot of the energy or binary style effects that she comes with. These blue ones combined with the different hands are a nice little touch to the pose and give the figure just a little more eye candy from a distance. That said, again, due to the limited range of motion in the midsection, legs, and feet, it's hard to get this pose to look as natural as some other figures you would normally put in a flight pose. Swapping out the head sculpt and lighting effects gets this flight pose, and I like this look a lot. This head sculpt looks great with the light up feature in the helmet. The eyes don't show up as well as the mohawk does though. One thing I noticed is the paint app on the face of this head sculpt doesn't look as good or as complete as the other one. The attention seems to have gone more into the helmet, which makes sense as it stands out more, and to me it looks really good. This combined with the quality of the leather jacket really makes me want to get a second body so I can do the casual Carol Danvers look and use this head sculpt on this figure. Out of all the energy effects, these are my favorite. The shape of them gives more life and dimension, and I think the paint app on these looks fantastic. Now, I usually don't use these type of accessories because even though these are toys, these type of accessories really make them look like toys. That said, these ones are surprisingly different to my eye, and I really like how they look. The other thing you'll notice in this pose is the shoulder articulation made possible by the way they did the shoulder pads. This was a great idea in my opinion, but again, a lost detail due to the material choice. I just don't see myself leaving the figure posed long enough for this to be as much of a win as maybe it could have been. The head sculpt is really well done, and I think it's one of the better female head sculpts Hot Toys has ever done. I go back and forth on my thoughts on rooted hair, but the sculpted hair on this really looks good on this figure, and the paintwork is excellent. I think they got Brie Larson's likeness pretty spot on here, and I'd rate this head sculpt an 8 out of 10. After looking at all the accessories and options for posing, I've landed on a museum pose for now using one of the energy accessories. Even though I wish I could have put her in a dynamic flight pose, this works for me. Well, at least for now. It shows some of her ability and it reminds you of what she can do when she shows up on the scene. Captain Marvel looks fantastic. The suit looks screen accurate, and as I said earlier, she catches your eye when surrounded by other figures. That said, with a character who is so dynamic in abilities on screen, her lack of dynamic posability and figure form is a big downer for me. But this pose works, and having her stand amongst the other Avengers and catching the eye is really better than not having her at all. So, all in all, I'd rate this figure a total 7 out of 10. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you want to stay tuned for more. If so, take a second and hit that subscribe button. There'll be more 6-scale figure and diorama reviews coming your way. Until then, stay safe and collect because you can.